Private hire drivers and delivery workers will soon be able to negotiate contracts and working conditions more formally. This comes after the government accepted a set of recommendations by a tripartite work group to enhance representations for such platform workers. And these will be implemented from the second half of next year. Clara Lee reports.
On the work group itself,
more than 88,000 platform workers can soon join representative bodies that are legally empowered and with similar powers to unions. The resolution of disputes between both sides can also be better facilitated under a proper channel. It's a move that's welcomed by platform workers.
It's good for us, for our voice to be heard in the government level. And for the platform operators as well, so they can form policy, they can formulate policy that to better have our interests first.
For now, there are already associations under the labour movement that advocate for issues related to these workers. However, there is no process to determine that these associations have the mandate to be the voice of the workers. As such, they can only engage with platform operators to raise concerns, but are unable to formally negotiate collective agreements on behalf of the workers. Still, the issue of platform worker representation is complex. Companies have different operating models, while workers have different priorities. This was raised at a dialogue attended by about 120 platform workers, as well as representatives from the Manpower Ministry, Labour Movement and the Singapore National Employers Federation.
The discussions is not always that easy because there are real concerns that the platform operators have in terms of ensuring the sustainability of the business, even as they are trying to do their best to look after the interests of the platform workers. SNEF also engage quite a number of other platform operators to hear their perspective, to seek their inputs.
Looking ahead, the work group says the new framework may still need to be reviewed in future in order to stay relevant as the platform economy continues to grow and evolve.
Well, to find out how employees will benefit, Senior Minister of State for Manpower, Koh Poh Koon, speaks to our reporter Clara Lee as they go on a typical delivery route.
So, Dr. Koh, there are already existing associations that represent platform workers such as taxi drivers and food delivery riders. But now that the workers themselves have the legal mandate to form their own, what more can they do?
Well, for one, they can now enter into more formal discussion as compared to today, where it's an informal discussion. They cannot take each other to task if there are any violations of any agreed positions. But with a legal document like a collective agreement, should there be any violation of the terms that are mutually agreed upon, then they can be taken to task in the industrial arbitration court.
So this sounds like it's somewhere in between an association and a union. What would you call it?
So yeah, exactly correct. They are not the typical employees, neither are they fully self-employed. They are somewhere in between. And by not calling them a union, it is to differentiate them from the typical employee-employee model. As to what they will eventually call themselves, this is something that the partners will have to discuss and decide on a proper naming for their particular representative body.
So, Dr. Koh, there will also be a formal channel for dispute resolution through the Manpower Ministry. So do you foresee more complaints being escalated to MOM, and how is the Ministry planning to deal with that?
Well, MOM obviously will be ready to deal with any complaints that comes from any sector. But you see, we hope that any disputes or any grievances could be handled more upstream between the platform operators and the platform workers. This will hopefully lead to less serious disputes that need to be escalated to MOM in time to come.
So this sounds like it will benefit many food delivery riders, but as you can see, they work round the clock and they work irregular hours. How are you going to convince them to get on board?
Well, in existence, there are platform worker associations that have been in connection with many of these workers. So they are quite used to actually connecting with workers despite the dispersed nature and the transient nature of some of these workers. I believe this will evolve from the existing framework in which they will continue to outreach to these workers and help to bring them on board as well.
So I'm sure around us there are many self-employed persons such as freelance tutors or freelance coaches as well. If this new model works, do you think there's a chance it will be applied to these groups of workers?
The Platform Worker Advisory Committee in their deliberation decided on a few principles. First, this group of workers involved with point-to-point transportation as well as food delivery are more precarious with a modest income, and they are subjected to significant management control. And that's why the legislation as it's conceived today is targeted toward this group of workers. In time to come, if there are other groups of workers facing similar constraints in terms of control as well as precariousness, we will look at whether we can include them in the same legislation.
So we shall see then?
Yes, indeed. Industry will continue to evolve over time.